Let me tell you about the most insane days I've ever experienced in my entire life. So, to get you up to speed, if you checked out my other videos, you already know that I'm moving down to Florida. I'm actually in Florida recording this right now. Yeah, it's been crazy to say the least. So, let's go all the way back into essentially the Wednesday before I need to move. Moving on the Friday, we packed up basically our entire house. There's a few things left, and I realized that the trailer that I originally rented was not going to be nearly big enough. So, worked out the math, basically what it was going to cost me to rent a truck and a trailer. We're probably looking in the neighborhood of $4,500, $5,000. For around $14,000, I could buy a brand new car trailer. Our logic is we move once more, twice more. It's paid for itself in the rental fees. Plus, obviously, now I have a car trailer. Had to chat with Jess a little bit to get it all through, but at the end of the day, it was the right decision to make. So, uh, basically, I found a trailer available, ready to go in my area. It's a 20-foot pace trailer, 7-foot ceilings, absolutely beautiful. Super happy with the purchase. So we spend all of Thursday night basically getting that packed. Friends, family, everybody comes over. We get the whole thing packed up. And I realized just how much stuff we've got, how heavy it's going to be. I'm estimating we're somewhere in the neighborhood of around 7,500 pounds in the trailer, which isn't too bad. Now, the truck that I'm going to be towing this with is a 2006 Dodge 2500, 5.9 Cummins in it. The transmission was rebuilt, I think, 5, 6 years ago. I bought it off one of my best friends named Clayton. It's got, before leaving, somewhere in the neighborhood of 450,000 kilometers already on it, whatever that is in miles. Admittedly, it did have a little bit of blow by. Other than that, the truck has been absolutely incredible. Fast fuel system is on it. It's got slightly over injectors, a tune, runs great, doesn't blow a bunch of coal, but hauls everything it needed to haul. So we get everything loaded. I get the truck, set up. I put a weight distribution hitch on just to make sure, because it's a little bit tongue heavy. I was kind of concerned, trying to be very cautious about the whole thing. And that leads me to Friday morning. Now, the drive down to Florida, we're looking at roughly, 20 hours, let's say, to keep it simple. So I get up very early Friday morning. I hit the road. I make it to the border, no issues. Hand them all my paperwork, show them my work visa, show them everything that's in the trailer. They're all good with it. And I hit the road. And I notice about 2.5, 3 hours in that the truck just wants to live at anywhere between 225 to about 235, which I've kind of been told that's not a huge deal, but it's a big enough deal for me. So I, don't run the AC. I try to keep it light. I change my route around to make sure I'm not going through the mountains. I'm going to go as wide as possible away from them. And that basically just puts me through mountains between Nashville and Chattanooga. Truck runs great, other than just the slight overheating. I even posted up on socials like, oh, I'm in trouble, which was a massive foreshadowing for what was about to happen. So about 9.5 hours into my journey, I get through Nashville and I start to make it to the first set of kind of big hills. I'm not quite sure if you call them mountains, but regardless, we're getting into some big hills. At this point, I've kind of figured out, okay, I know what the truck needs to stay in a good temperature zone. I can't be on the throttle like crazy. Obviously, I need to keep the AC off because it's heat soaking into the rad. And basically that keeps it at around 230 even when going up a hill. So I make it through one or two decent sized hills and I come up to my first big one. Get to the bottom of the hill. I'm carrying lots of momentum. I get about 3/4 of the way up the hill. And that's when it happens. I feel the truck shudder. I smell oil instantly. I check my rear view mirrors. On the passenger side where the exhaust is, there's oil coming out of the exhaust. On the driver's side where the breather tube is, there's oil coming out of the breather tube. I'm looking, I'm still holding oil pressure. I make it to the top of the hill. I pull over very quickly, turn the truck off, and I look, and there is oil absolutely everywhere. It's not spewing out of the crankcase. It's not spewing out of the oil pan, thankfully. When I pop the hood, there is oil all over the engine bay. The dipstick tube is basically all the way out, and there's oil. So I knew pretty much immediately the engine was toast. I more than likely melted a hole in the piston. I take a look, and thankfully, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles up the road is a Love's gas station. Big truck station, absolute saving grace. I'm at the top of a hill. I look, I've got one more hill that I got to climb up. I basically get the truck running, coast it all the way down the hill without the engine running, no power brakes, no power steering, just to get it down the hill. and get to the bottom of the hill, turn it back on, get it back up. And thankfully, I make it into the Love's gas station. To put into perspective, I had to keep the RPMs up just to keep oil pressure. When I finally stop, I pull the dipstick and there's nothing left in the crankcase. It is completely empty. The oil is everywhere. It's over the trailer. It's everywhere. So I knew at that point I was fucked. I'm now about halfway into my journey. The truck is dead. There's no like quick fix for this, obviously. I've got about 7,500 pound load in the trailer, so I can't just rent an F-150. I've got to rent something that's big. It is around 10 o'clock at night. Thankfully, I'm at least at a gas station that has showers. It has everything I kind of need to survive. I talked to a couple people at the gas station. I talked to a couple of the mechanics that are at the service station there. They don't really know anybody. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I post up on socials and explain the situation. And that's where the drift community came in. Well, I figured out why the Cummins might have been overheating. Fairly certain I just melted a hole in the piston. So I am now stranded somewhere between Manchester and Hillsborough, Tennessee. Thankfully, I'm out of Love's. I need two things. If you know anybody local or in this area that do work on a Cummins, obviously I'm going to need a new engine in it. And I need to figure out a rental, or if somebody nearby wants to take a trip down to Florida, definitely need to be a 250 or bigger to haul the 20-foot trailer. So tag some people, whatever you know, whatever you got. Got nothing else to do but to figure this out. So appreciate the help in advance. Absolutely clutch. And I mean, it's more than drift to drift community. There's people I haven't talked to in years. There's people offering credits for rental cars, everything. I reach out to the only person that I know in Nashville, which is Human Rahimi. He's a Pro 2 driver. Human, thankfully, out of a miracle of luck, is an Android user. Android came in clutch in this. He is on a flight to Japan and has Wi-Fi, so he's able to text me back and forth, similar to iMessage. Believe it or not, Android has something very similar to that. And we're able to communicate. And he sends me a message and is like, hey, I know of a good mechanic shop. They'll hook you up. It's called the Mechanic Spot. It's in Nashville. They have been absolutely incredible. In the end of this, I'll tell you where I'm at with the truck, but they've been so great with everything. And then he sends out a bunch of other messages, and I see a bunch of other messages and tags and stuff on my socials, and Driven Luck Circuit keeps coming up. And Coy from there is who's tagged a whole bunch. He is the co-owner of the racetrack. It's in Alabama. I've never been there, but it's an absolutely incredible looking racetrack, and I'll get to why it's so important. But yeah, the whole community really came in clutch and tagged as many people as possible. And it was great. And for the people who thought it would be funny to like make jokes and shit, I really tried not to let it get to me, but it definitely did. Like, it's not the time. It's really not the time. And obviously I was an idiot. I posted about it ahead of time saying like, oh, like, I foreshadowed my own thing, and nobody is going to make me feel worse than the way I did for doing something like that. But people commenting shitty things doesn't help either. So we'll move past that, because I got on the phone with a couple different people. One guy, I believe, who does like commercial towing stuff, said, hey, I can give you a lift with the trailer down. Here's my quote. It was a few grand. It was actually not a bad deal altogether. But the family from Driven Luck Circuit was able to come in clutch, and they basically said, hey, we can come get you tonight. I said, I got to wait for the tow truck to show up to get that all sorted. But let's do it in the morning. I'll sleep in the truck. And that's what I did. So the next morning, Coy Dillard and his awesome girlfriend, Megan, showed up. He had, I think it was a 2005 F350 dually. And he let me know ahead of time. He's like, hey, listen, I haven't driven this truck in a bit. It's definitely going to need front tires. We're going to have to work on that. I hope you're okay with it. And I said, look, dude, I don't care what we need to do with this truck. As long as it can get me there, I don't care. So it was around 7:30 in the morning, and we hook up the trailer. I get in the back seat. We start our drive. We make it to the first big hill, and I hear a sound that basically everybody that has been on a boosted car knows, and that's the sound of a coupler popping off. And sure as shit, the main intake coupler that comes right off the turbo on that engine came off. It didn't split the coupler. The coupler is damaged though. It's cracked, and the main clamp broke. So I ended up having to get into the back of the trailer, get into my toolboxes, which meant digging through so much stuff. And I found a couple of worm screw clamps, which we put together and put it on, which meant that we basically couldn't go over about 10 pounds of boost for the rest of the drive. Great way to start things off. We then make it about an hour down the road, and we're able to find some more worm screw clamps. Couldn't find any T-bolts that would fit, but we were able to more or less keep going. We then made it into Chattanooga and found a tire spot. And I told Coy, I was like, look, dude, let me buy the tires for you. It's the least I can do, because he didn't want any money for this, which I still think is insane. I was like, let me buy the tires, please. Obviously, I'm buying fuel, I'm buying them food, I'm buying them anything that they'll take, because I'm so appreciative of what's going on. And we go to a Firestone. We call them ahead of time. They've got the right tires. We pull up and call them and say, hey, how long of a wait is it going to be? And they're like, about 2 hours. Koya comes up with a great idea. He goes, listen, what if we take the tires off and we roll them to you? How quick can you be? And the guy's like, I'll get them done right away. And so we did. We pulled into a parking lot. We jacked the front end of the truck up. I had a jack. He had a jack with him. I had tools. He had tools. We pulled the front wheels off. We wheeled them across the street. We get those put on. So shouts out to the Firestone in Chattanooga, because they were great. They then told us that they didn't have a balancer that would fit them. So we were kind of shit out of luck on that, which is crazy on its own. And so then, now it's like, okay, non-balanced tires. Let's see how it goes. We get back on the road, and we still get the coupler that's not great. We decide to pull off. I can't remember what town it's in, but we pull off the highway a couple hours later for some food. We realize that we pulled off next to an absolutely massive Summit Racing. So we go in there. They've got a Mishimoto coupler. They've got some T-bolt clamps that are going to fit. And we're like, fuck yeah, let's go. So we do that. We get some food. I was like, hey, we should probably do a test pull with this and see if it fits and see if everything holds. And we do a test pull. Boom, coupler comes off immediately. So we're no further ahead. And this is because the Ford couplers with it actually have a ridge inside that fits into a groove on the hot side of the intercooler piping. So we need one of those couplers, really. And obviously there's other ways that we could do it. I totally get that. But the best route is that coupler. One of his buddies calls, because he saw the situation that we're in. He's like, yo, you're at this summit. I'm like 5 minutes away. I've got these engines laying around. I can get you that coupler. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I will do my best to put it down below. But we pull in there, take a look at one of the coolest garages I've ever seen, full of all these super rare Mustangs and Fords and swap things. Absolutely nuts. We put the coupler on, and we're on our way. We've still got about 6 hours left. We made a bunch of stops, and we get all the way down to Florida. And thankfully, the team over at Drift HQ said that we could leave the trailer there, got us all the info. We pull in at like 12:30 at night on the Saturday. We've been on the road since 7 a.m. and able to get the trailer dropped off. I offered to get Coy and his girlfriend a hotel, but they're like, yeah, we've got some friends nearby. We're going to stop there. So I cannot thank Driven Luck Circuit, that whole family, because like mom and dad were calling to make sure we were all good. Megan was super patient throughout the whole thing. I cannot thank them enough. If you are in the area, if you're looking for a really cool drift spot, please go check out Driven Luck Circuit, because they absolutely saved my life in this. This cannot thank them enough. It was such a cool ride. Love those guys. Yeah, that's the best that I can say. Yeah, wow. Anyways, so that now puts me down into Florida. I won't get into all the details, but there's a bunch of banking stuff I need to get done. I was able to secure a rental spot, which is going to be our new home. And that is where I'm at right now. Is I'm in the hotel. I actually leave for Seattle in the morning. I'm going to be back here in about a week, and then I'm gone again for about 3 weeks. My family still has to move down. The trailer is at Drift HQ right now. They have said that they will find some time to drop the trailer off at my new house, which is insane, because obviously my truck is not done. I did get the bill back. It's going to be around $12,500 to put a new engine in it. If it wasn't for the fact that this truck has so much history with me and my friends, that it has a rebuilt transmission, and I feel like I need to put it in there. I could probably find another one of these trucks for the same price, probably, but this is going to come with a used engine, which has a full 1-year warranty on it, which is great. Yeah, maybe I'll get the old engine put in the back, and maybe I can rebuild it, but that's where I'm at. I'm in Florida now. I apologize that I haven't put out other videos. I've got Gatsbill that still needs to come out. I've got St. Louis that still needs to come out. But I felt like I need to give you guys an update of where I'm at from the last one. But as you can see, the light is dying, and I'm probably going to edit this tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. I got some time, but thank you so much for all the support, everyone. Thank you so much to Driven Lux Circuit, for everybody that DM'd me, for all the messages, for the mechanic spot, for Human Rahimi, for turning on Wi-Fi on a flight to Japan, and for owning an Android. It's a crazy, crazy situation. And this move is one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. And I am so grateful that I have this community and people in my life that made it happen. So yeah, thank you. And thank you for watching. And I'll give you another life update, maybe once I'm home and settled, and show you what the new house looks like.